morning, I would say it was about 5 minutes till 8. I made a phone call. And I got on the phone and I said, Father Stedman, are you planning on preaching today? And he said, I'm going to be at McPherson. So apparently Father Stedman was double booked this weekend. And that he's not going to be preaching today, as the bulletin says, but that he's in McPherson. And so you're in for a treat. This should be rather short. I just want to highlight one thing from the gospel. I don't know if when Jesus prayed his prayer to the Father that he took into consideration that the people would have to read his prayer aloud in worship. Because there's a lot of I and me, and you and me, and we and them, and they and me, and this sort of thing. And it's hard to read out loud. I'm sure it was prayed beautifully by Jesus, but it's hard to read out loud. And I think to our ears, I think we live in a world where we don't like repetition, at least after the age of 6, right? We don't like literature that just simply repeats itself. The Bible does that a lot. But clearly the emphasis in today's gospel is on oneness. The oneness that Jesus and the Father have with one another, that's what he wants for his followers. Both that they would be one with Jesus and that they would be one with one another. And that those who listen to the apostles, who hear the good news preached by them, that they would be one. Because you see, Jesus' vision, God's vision for creation, isn't simply, at the end of everything, to have every individual in heaven. God has a bigger vision for creation than that. God is wanting to restore the oneness that was lost. The oneness between human beings and God, the oneness between human beings and one another, and the oneness between human beings and all of creation. You know, it's fascinating, in the first two or three chapters of Genesis, we have a couple of different creation stories. Some different things are going on, but this theme of oneness is played throughout. And in particularly, it's centered on human beings. And so the first creation story on kind of the last pinnacle day of creation, before the Sabbath, on the 6th day, after God had created all of these spaces for things to inhabit, and created all of the animals, God then said, let us make human beings in our image. And so God made them in his image. He made them male and female. And what's fascinating about these few verses is that it is in our maleness and femaleness, our ability to be in relationship with one another, that most reflects who God is. God by nature is a community of persons. And so when human beings were created to be God's image bearers, God didn't create one. He created two to be in relationship with one another. And as human beings are in relationship to one another, they would reflect in creation who God was in God's very being. And the second creation story, albeit in a very different way, tells the same story. In this story, God gets his hands dirty, literally. He scoops down into the earth. And like a potter, like a sculptor, he fashions this man out of the dust of the earth, and then breathes into his nostrils the breath of life, and he becomes a human being. And then God steps back and he looks at him. He's not done. It's not good for him to be alone. He needs a partner in this life. And so God begins to create all of these animals and bring them to the man to least some of these animals should have been able to help with that because they were domestic animals. But none of them were a fit partner. And so God caused the man to fall asleep. And while he is incapacitated, God forms a partner for him from his side. And when he awakes, he sees the woman, and he says, finally, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And what we have in this very detailed story is that humanity is not humanity until there are two. Then you turn the page, and a new chapter begins, and it all falls apart. The man and the woman eat from the tree that God told them not to eat from. And before God even shows up on the scene, the oneness that they had enjoyed of being fit for one another fell apart. They eat from the tree, and immediately they are overcome with this sense of shame that they can't abide one another's presence. And so they have to cover themselves with these makeshift clothing from fig leaves. And then when God shows up on the scene, that oneness is also broken, because they can't abide to be in God's presence. And so in their shame, they hide from God. And then as the story continues, we see that the other relationship, the relationship between human beings and all of creation, is broken. That is what God has been trying to fix. And that's why the idea that salvation is simply God pulling individuals from this earth and taking them to heaven when they die is just not a big enough picture for what's actually wrong. Because what God is all about is restoring all of these key relationships. The relationships between human beings and God, between human beings and one another, between human beings and all of creation. But God begins with human beings because that's where the fall began. In fact, as Paul says in Romans, the whole creation is groaning in labor pain, waiting until human beings finally come back to their own, so that the creation itself might be set free from this decay. So when Jesus is in this prayer, he is praying for oneness. It's not a nice idea. This is what he has been about. The oneness that the Father, Son, and the Spirit have always had is now being made available to all of creation through human beings. Father, just as you and I are one, may they also be one. One with one another, one with you and me, one with all the people that they are sent to. That's why we come here. In fact, this is what we're going to celebrate next week. When the Spirit comes, it does not come on one person, but on a whole people, a whole community. This is where Jesus' prayer is being answered. Because we are not left to our own devices to create this oneness. It's the Spirit poured out upon God's people that creates this oneness that we then participate in. Part of why we come to worship is so that that Spirit in this place can help unite us together. Because after all, we're quite different, right? Some people like Fords, some people like Chevys. We have different cultures. We have different life experiences. We have different ideas, some of which aren't in conflict and some of them which are. Yet when we come to this place, we are one. One in our worship because we worship Jesus. We're also one because we all come to the same table. We all sit down at the same table. And we don't talk politics at the table. But we eat Jesus. We take his body into us. We take his Spirit into we are learning